As the sun rises over the Seto Inland Sea, you expect to find a quiet artisan village at the edge of Japan, filled with dedicated craftsmen, calloused hands, early mornings. Hidden is the back-breaking labor, knowledge, and the unshakable reason why the people here don't flee to the big cities. In Bizen, life is built on mud, fire, and salt.
はじめまして、トビーと申します。よろしくお願いします。ここら辺の大先輩の漁師ですか？
大先輩ではないですけど、漁師です。
今日何を取りに行きますか？
牡蠣をあげに行きましょうか。
わかりました。じゃあ楽しみにしてます。
はい。
よろしくお願いします。
お願いします。
この船も何年間ぐらいで乗ってますか？
これですか、20年。
20年。
はい。
すごい。行きましょうか。
はい、行きましょ
う。朝何時から行きますか？
朝は5時ぐらい。
When you look at the physical toll these jobs take, waking up at 4 a.m. to head out into the freezing winter tides, you expect them to complain, validating how difficult it is to do such physical work day after day. Some may even question why anyone would choose such an occupation. But the reality is, like many people who come to the work that defines them, the oyster farmer got here sideways, through circumstances in life after something else didn't work out.
父親がちょっと病気をしまして、バブルこう下がった時と世の中不安定になって、そのタイミングで36歳になった時に、今しかやるとしたらないで、もう 80%、90% 自然に任せるところなんで、もう自然と仲良くすることが一番大事だと思います。一番大変な条件は波が1メートル、1.5 メートルぐらいの時ですね。怖いですね。でも暗い時に出て行ったりするから最初はわからないんですよ。ただ現場に着くとイカダが波がすごい、そういうのがもう恐怖がすごいですね。小さいもうここで生まれてきて父親の仕事を後継いでるもんで、自分が好きでやってるもんで別に辞めるとは思ったことはない。魚は市場へおろして終わりだけど、牡蠣はお客さんが注文してくださって、ほんで喜んでくれる。ありがとう。この牡蠣は日本一美味しい。今まで食べた中で一番美味しい牡蠣を言うて。それはもう一番こう最高嬉しいですね。
I've never done this. I have no idea how it works. Ready? 海の味。
海の味。そうです。
美味しい。
美味しいね。
わ
美味しい。
わあ。That was good. That was fresh. The freshest oyster I've ever had.
What I found wasn't the toughness I had imagined. It was something softer and more surprising. A rare kind of devotion. The kind that thrives in silence, not in a performed Instagram caption way, the way that doesn't need an audience. Falling into the freezing ocean is just a workplace hardship. For him, the physical grind isn't the burden, it's just the reality of the job. And the potters in Bizen are exactly the same.
こんにちは。はじめまして、トビと申します。よろしくお願いします。やりましょうか。やりますか。はい。はい。
Shibuta-san has been making bizenyaki for over 45 years. He started as an interior design student, which I found unexpectedly charming. The instinct for space, for form, for how things relate to each other, it's still there in his work. After apprenticing for 2.5 years, he spent 20 at the kiln, and finally, 15 years ago, he set up his own.
その色とかそういうものがここは自分で作らないとダメなんです。いやそこが面白いところなんで、だからご存知のように自然っていうのはいつもこういうふうに動いてるわけなんで、今日ここにあったから明日のここと昨日と今日は違うっていうのがそれは普通なので、だから粘土も常に違う。
Instead of buying from a supplier, Shibuta-san even chooses to make the clay himself. Without machines, it takes an enormous amount of time and dedication. But after seeing the detail and care he put into his craft, I understood why. There is something about starting from the very beginning of a thing that keeps you honest about all the steps in between. You can't just skip ahead to the part where it looks finished.
実は大変なことは何もない。面白いからやり続けてるんですけれども、唯一大変なことは販売です。
ああ、そうなんですね。
はい。作ることは全然苦にはならないです。失敗しようが時間がかかろうが全然問題はないです。せっかくこう日本のその手仕事のすごいいい仕事があるんだけれども、後継者がいないっていう問題とか、なかなか物が売れてないっていう問題がで、今の若い人たちがその長い間我慢できないし、からインターネットになってるので、いろんなことが見えてきちゃってるので、それはなかなか問題だろうと思うし。
He wasn't sad. He was just realistic. As the world changes and the masses shift their interest to the next big thing, new generations pay less and less attention to the skills of the past. But for some, the knowledge passed down from previous generations is enticing enough to have them pick up the mantle, infusing their personal touch and modern ideas into the techniques rooted in history and the knowledge of the craft. That's exactly what Kazuya-san has achieved with his work.
Breakdance, somehow it's connected. Spiral throwing technique, I combine with the traditional Bizen technique to make cylinder and push from inside to get interesting texture without touching outside. It comes naturally. I combine with my background, that is my break dance, which is like a twist and centrifugal pose. So this is Bizen clay from under rice field. So Bizen clay is very sticky, and it's good quality for lots of get a different effect from wood firing. And this is called spiral wedging. So to mix clay and also take air bubbles.
How do you know the process is finished?
I can feel it's mixed well or this is one of the oldest pottery town. We have over 800 years tradition. We have a unique clay, like a rough clay, wild clay, smooth clay. But to me, less option. That makes more creativity. If you can choose any clay, it might easy to make what you think of at the end. But to me, limited option that I can think more. What can I do from this? How can I combine this and this? So to me, less option, which makes more creativity.
Muscle memory of spinning and balancing was already in his body from years of dancing on the floor. The outside of his clay is never compressed. He pushes from within.
It's very mesmerizing to watch. It just kind of shapes and changes. And I noticed you do it while closing your eyes too.
Yeah, it's better to catch details by sense of my fingers.
What appears on the surface, raw, textured, alive, is the clay's own interior making itself visible. He just creates the condition for it to happen. And then, to my own disbelief, he picks up a blowtorch. We asked him, how long does it take to become good at this? I'm always a little embarrassed asking this question. It feels like asking a river how long it took to make a canyon. But the answers are usually interesting.
Well, how long does it take? But to understand the basic thing, that's I think takes 3 to 5 years. Yeah, 24 hours someone needs to in charge, and maybe every 5 minutes to put piece of wood.
Wow, okay. So there's always like someone
Always
here.
someone needs to be.
How many people usually work on keeping this
In
running?
Bizen, usually 3 and 8 hours shift.
Every 5 minutes for 4 days, around the clock, 3 people in rotating shifts. Someone at this kiln at 3 in the morning, alone, putting wood into this fire. Of course, as an oyster farmer, you can't outmuscle the ocean. And as a potter, you can't intimidate a wood-fired kiln. To thrive here, you need to develop a deep working knowledge. And nothing made the importance of this more clear to me than their encounter with a katana master. I wasn't sure what to expect. Maybe someone performing the ancient warrior act for visitors? He was nothing like that. He was down to earth, slightly funny, and completely serious about something that most people on earth will never think about for a single second of their lives. I liked him a lot. The sword tradition he studies and teaches is local to Okayama.
時代から伝わった技を、これを伝統武術ですからね、これを後世に伝えるのがね、私の使命です。絶やさないように。
The history of some of these blades go back centuries.
刀を取るときにとかルールありますか？
あります。この刀は今から、700年前。
700年前。
700。いや。鎌倉時代から南北朝時代に全然減ってない。刀というのは合戦をしましょう。した時に箱掘りをして、あと研いでだんだん減っていく。ですけどこの分は全然減ってないことが、使われてないのかもしれないですね。
美術みたいな。
そうですね。はい。これはもう博物館にあるような刀。いくらすると思います
？I guessed, and I was wrong. Significantly wrong. A Japanese blade and a Western sword are functionally different. Unlike the Western sword, the Japanese blade doesn't push, it draws. You don't cut it so much as you pull it through.
"西洋の剣は相手に切り込んで相手を撲殺するというかね。ですからごつい、幅もごついし重い。日本刀というのは軽い。でも全部で 1.2 キロぐらいありますけどね。
1.2 キロ。
はい。バランスがいい。
While I put on my tabi, he put on an armor called yoroi.
これは何キロですか？
だいたい刀を全部合わせて、20キロぐらい。
20キロ。
わ
20 kilograms of lacquered steel and leather strapped on piece by piece. Yet, somehow, he moves freely with a comfort and grace that speak to his decades of experience. After learning the fundamental draw, however, the illusion that anyone could learn how to use a katana and become a samurai was shattered.
昔の侍は1000回。
1000回。毎日。
毎日。
で、それを30年間ぐらい。
もっともっと。
もっともっと。
死ぬまで。
死ぬ。
He says it like it's benign, because in his world, it is. 1,000 times a day until you die, when most of us give up on things after 2 weeks if the results aren't there. So, what actually keeps all these people in this specific corner of Japan? Why endure the freezing waters and the blistering heat of the kilns? Or serve as a last generation in a fading tradition? Why Bizen, when they could easily move to the conveniences of Tokyo or Osaka? It's because they aren't chasing mass commercial fame or scale. Their soul is tied to the quiet pride of making something real, and their roots are buried deep in the local soil. That's the answer I had come up with at this point. And while true and rather poetic, something about it seems a little too shallow. While the soul may not be entirely explainable, there is a deeper understanding of it that had yet to come to, making this whole journey not yet finished. But there's a thing that happens sometimes when you travel to a place with a specific purpose. You get the thing you came for, and then something else turns up that you didn't know you were looking for. And that second thing is usually the one you actually needed. In Bizen, that second thing was the people. The people who held the place together from the inside. Not only the craftspeople, but all the ones in between. This villa is called Villa Shinobi. It means to remain hidden, quiet, still.
Good morning,
It sits on a small island in Kojima Bay, in a house that was built a long time ago for a wealthy businessman who came here to think. The house is extraordinary. Structurally, it's built to flex rather than resist. Columns not perfectly aligned, joints unfixed. So the whole thing moves with earthquakes rather than against them. I was told this by the man who runs it, who knew more about the construction of this old traditional building than I knew of my own house.
やっぱりこの建物の作りだったりとか、その使われている木だったりとかっていうのはすごい当時、高いだけじゃなく、今だと取っちゃいけないものだったり、取れない、使えないっていうものだったりあるので、そういうところを素人が手を出すっていうのはちょっと良くないんじゃないかなっていうことを思ったので、やっぱりちゃんと知っているプロの大工さんに頼んでリノベーションとかしてもらいました。ここの文化だったりとか、ここの場所と海外の人たちをつなげるような架け橋になればいいなっていうことを思ってスタートしました。
Koya-san grew up visiting this island as a child. His grandparents used to run a pension here. After studying overseas in both America and France, he met his partner, Victoria, and then came back when he learned the previous owner of this property was ill and needed someone to maintain it. They looked at their own lives and decided. Together, they do everything themselves. The garden, the cleaning, the cooking, maybe with a little help from his mom, and translate for all the craftspeople who were hosting foreign visitors.
ずっとやってるところを見て、自分でもやってみてっていうふうに試行錯誤しながら、本当に全然自分は完璧じゃないんですけど、なんとかできるようになったかなっていうところです。この備前にはいろんな備前焼だったり、漁師さんだったり、そういうもうエキスパートがいて、そういう人たちを輝かせるために自分がそういう、裏に回って、忍びじゃないですけど、輝かせるための、役割ができたらなっていう意味も自分の中ではあります。
I found this quite remarkable. Most people, when they build something, put themselves at the center of it. They have built something and put themselves on the edge. Deliberately. By design. One thing is clear about the residents here in Bizen. Their deep roots and dedication motivates them to preserve the age-old traditions lingering in this town. There's a profound sense of duty, yes, but mostly there's just a deep, resounding love for their home.
ここに来ると、なんとなくパワーをいただけるような、ごまごました嫌なことがあっても忘れるじゃないですか。もう癒される場所かなって、そんな風に思えるから。
Katayama-san, a volunteer guide in the region, described Bizen in 3 words. earth, fire, and sea. The mountain, the kiln, the bay.
備前っていろんなところがあるよ。どっちかというと、あんまりありすぎて、一つのものだけ皆さんにっていうわけじゃなくて、こういうこともありますっていうのが言いたいのと、物事を考えるんだったらこういう場所がいいかな。無心になってするんだったら焼き物なんかがいいかな。
And in the middle of those three things, she said, pointing at nothing in particular and everything at once, the people. With this, I found the depth missing in my answer of why the people choose to stay in Bizen. It's a collective choice. Maybe not literally, no meeting was ever held, nor was any solution ever verbalized. But the people here, who hold the community together, choose to do so because, at their core, they collectively understand it's a community worth holding together. So, what happens when the people who love these things can no longer do them? And the people who might love them next haven't found them yet? This question is not without hope. The elements out here have forged a community that is as resilient and as welcoming as the raw earth they stand on.